we have a program called Schneider Energy Action, under which we have a mandate to reduce the energy footprint of our own operations by 10% by the end of 2014. So if we compare it to December 2011, we must be 10% more efficient. So we are only using 9 times the amount of energy we use 3 years down the line as the business expands.
Our basic aim is to conserve power, conserve water. There is a huge potential in terms of savings. We could save about 40% of the water that we are using today. We could save about almost 30% of the power that is being used. This is just ballpark figures. One area which we would like to do more is in the agricultural area, because 85% of the water consumption of India goes into agriculture. It's very difficult to regulate that market, but we're seeing what we can do.
As I just mentioned, Cushman & Wakefield looks at sustainability from a larger point of view. That's the reason why we have actually introducing services right from pre-design, pre-construction, pre-project stage up to operations and beyond. So it's a full life cycle of a building project from its inception to commissioning, decommissioning. In fact, it is cradle to cradle, not even cradle to grave.
The ITC is perhaps the only company in the world which is water positive, carbon positive and solid waste recycling positive. And this has happened because of the focus on all resources, right from our board level to the ground level, so that all of us understand that issues are serious and they need to be looked at very minutely and to be handled carefully. And therefore we have reduced our water consumption by nearly 60% in hotels. And as we speak today in ITC, 42% of our energy comes from renewable sources. Five of our hotels operate with wind energy, and ITC Moria in Delhi is the first hotel in the world with a concentrated technology which generates steam out of the sunshine and helps us to displace 13 liters of diesel per hour for 8 hours a day.
Well, I really think it's interesting to see what brands are doing to really push the envelope on this and kind of go beyond sort of communicating basic, I guess, functional pieces of brands, but really sort of what's the big story or what do they stand for. And so for an example would be a company called Patagonia, which is an outdoor apparel company in the States. And they've really had to rethink their whole business as they've started thinking about sustainability. They've always been a business that stands behind their products, but they've really been thinking more and more about the end of life of their products and how they can really sort of create a bigger conversation with their customers around them. So for example, they are now actually selling used Patagonia items in their stores because it actually creates a bigger market for them. It creates a more interesting conversation, but also they've recognized that people don't necessarily always need something new. They might just need something to fulfill specific needs, and maybe are even interested in something for more of the sort of retro look or feel of it. So they've really been pushing the envelope on that, and then also beyond that, for them it's not even just about getting people to buy. They're actually also doing some really interesting things about talking to people about not buying and what it means to be a conscious consumer.
We have gone in for every area. We've gone in from the source, going to the source and say how to have recyclability of the source, how to reduce the energy at the source itself. And we are following the 3R principle of recycle, reduce, refuse. And some of the areas we're trying to bring in new technology into our processes, paint plant, welding areas, machining areas. And if we're not able to reduce the waste, we're trying to see how it can be recycled back. We're turning to the cement lane. Our water is 100% recycled, so we have zero discharge plant, and going to every element of work we should do.
We have started hot DRI charging, hot direct reduced iron. Normally in steel industry, everybody use cold DRI for steel making. But we are the first company in the world who has established hot DRI charging for steel making, and we have got this patented also from international patent body.
We already recycle 100% of our water, reuse back 92% into the process. We are on our way to actually creating domestic usage drinking water out of our effluent water. So we have technology in place to do that. The challenge for us is going to be the psychological challenge of getting people to drink the chemical water. Treated water, of course, it will be tested to all parameters, and we are on our way to doing that. We have our recycle plant where we have the loop project where we reinstate the lost waste fiber from our spinning units, and we recycle the fabric cut waste into a recycled product.
I think there are two strands of thought. The first is that today the vast number of SMEs are service providers. They're part of the business supply chain. That's not where the technical innovation is occurring. So one strand of thought is how do you get these SMEs to be the startups where new technologies are created. The second strand is to be able to help them provide these services better. A great example that was provided was solar makes great sense, but if I want to establish a solar system, who is going to do it? Well, if there's a local SME service provider who does it, then they need to be trained. They need to have the skills, the measurement techniques, and the ability to follow and provide O&M services that are needed. So all of these can only be done if the large manufacturers provide this kind of support to the smaller ones.
We have to address this issue I think on a larger scale now, because the industry is fragmented, the resources are dispersed, and if we have to really make it as a mission, I think a lot of work has to be done, like this conference is doing, in terms of creating awareness, educating the stakeholders, and involving, ultimately the organizations who have to work hard on it.
In my opinion, sustainability we can drive in the country in a big way. It calls for investments. Without funding, people cannot change, because all of us are accustomed to doing what we are doing in the same way we are doing.
Many of the my esteemed panelists were saying that there has to be an incentive for them to disclose what they're doing in ESG. To which my answer was that how would you feel if a surgeon were to tell you that, look, I'm going to take this patient for this very critical operation and I will do everything by the rule book, but I need incentives to ensure the life at the end of the operation. What good is it? We want the surgeon to keep the patient alive and healthy. In the same way, businesses have to keep planet Earth alive and healthy.
If you are able to create institutional structures which are benefiting the community is able to drive some smaller businesses from themselves, and they could become one of your clients of the future. So those could be the low-hanging fruits which are being taken. And as a subset, if they are already attached to a sustainable business, they would be one of the right parties to catch up with.